Hello, I'm Tony, and today we are starting up a business in Rise of Industry, a game free from the Epic Game Store until the 4th of March 2023. This is a management sim where you take over the means of production for a city and attempt to earn enough money to take over the entire world. Well, the entire map, I guess. It's not really a world. To be upfront about this review, I've played around 5 hours of this game and I feel like I've barely scratched the surface. I'm nowhere near completing a full map, partly because I went through the pretty extensive and in-depth tutorial, which takes a while. With that said, let's talk about the game. First off, I have had to reduce the resolution on my not very good gaming laptop. Changing the resolution did lead to a couple of odd window placements. Opening a few windows at the same time put one of them almost entirely off the screen, as if the game still thought it was at high res, which did make the game feel a little bit janky. The graphics are still decent though. You got your little trucks and trains happily pottering about, delivering the stuff I've made, which is what the game's all about. There are a lot of graphical options, as well as loads of game options. You can really tinker with the map that you're going to play on, for example. Though the resolution issues still persist here. The descriptions for the options lead off the screen, making them almost unreadable. You get to decide on the number of rival companies you play against, the size of the map, terrain details like the amount of coast and the curviness of the rivers. Plus, you can make significant changes to the difficulty levels. You can really make each game as easy or difficult as you want, with a whole boatload of options that might not make a lot of sense until you've played through a campaign. This is great. It lets you take out any individual game mechanics that just get on your nerves for some reason, while keeping the rest of the game just as difficult as you want it to be. Playing the game is very in keeping with playing any of the games of this genre. You have resources like water or trees on the map, and you need to place gathering stations on them, like water siphons or lumberyards. These then produce those resources, at a cost, which pile up in that building. You might have, for example, a wheat farm that requires water in order to grow wheat, so you need to set up a distribution route between the water siphon and the wheat farm. As long as you build a road, or a train track, or use zeppelins, between the siphon and the farm, your H2O will be delivered, and the farm can start making wheat. There is a little difference with this game from others that I've played, because you really do need to make sure the things that you're producing actually have a market that wants to buy them. In the easy mode game I was playing, my local town had 3 shops, each with 8 items that they could sell, and a limit on how much they could sell of that item each month. You might have other towns nearby that also require certain items, though the time taken to deliver them ramps the costs up a fair bit, and you might need to build a few more roads or bridges. You can only really build resource collectors according to the natural resources nearby. You might not have coal, for example, but you do have fish. But you also need to think about the demands of the market. There's no point collecting water and growing wheat if no one wants it. Nor would it make sense to have 3 wheat farms up and running if you can only sell 6 bundles of wheat a month. Factories can be built to take these raw materials and turn them into more refined items, like turning wheat into flour. But they require research, which costs time and money. You really need to plan everything out to make sure you can pay off the horrendously large loan you took out to start your company. I don't know why someone gave me 15 million, but thanks. There are several large tech trees to research, with research times stretching into multiple years for the more advanced ones. So games are going to take a while. There is a speed up function of up to 10 times. So once you have your production lines working well, you can really blast through the years, hopefully racking up all your profits and learning how to make crisps. As with all games of this type, you have rivals who you compete with. But there's no tanks or soldiers in this game, it's not Civilization. You do your fighting in the boardroom and in the markets. by buying out their stock and taking them over if you can. Territories that belong to another company can't be built on until that company becomes yours or you get an agreement. So at some point it will be necessary for further growth to buy into the other companies. That's basically the game, though like I said at the start, it's missing out quite a lot of detail on the extent of the research. In my few hours in the game, I've built a profitable little area that can produce soup, which is a lot more work to do than it sounds like. And now I've got chickens producing eggs. That's how far I've got, which is like very minimal progress. The game is actually pretty slow on easy level. I do recommend it to start with just to get the idea of how you set your distribution lines up, how you figure out the monthly requirements for each building and make sure they're being supplied promptly. That takes a little bit of work and monitoring, even with like a dozen buildings, let alone a huge number. So I think it's worth doing that the first time without worrying about rivals or a densely packed map with limited resources for you. As I've mentioned, making the research and building decisions based on the market demands is a must. You don't really want to be waiting for research in order to produce something you can sell, because that is literally just waiting. It's no fun. I'm not entirely on side with this game. I do really like the whole range of research options available and the general logistical management required. I think a part of not fully being engaged with it might be playing on easy mode, since there's no real conflict with the other companies, which no doubt takes away from the intensity of the game. That's been pretty low for me. It's been very chill to the point of sometimes being a little dull. It might also be that I'm not making proper use of the speed ups either. I've been trying to keep an eye on the distribution chain and make sure it's working right. And that takes a little bit of time to get sorted out. So the game does feel like it drags a bit at times. There's also been a couple of minor little things that detract a little bit from the game. I've got a bit annoyed with the road building, which can be a little bit awkward at times. It's not a big deal. I got used to it eventually, but it was quite frustrating to have to wait for 5 minutes to find out that the road you just built wasn't quite built right. As I said at the start, I haven't really got my teeth into this. There's loads left to find out. I've been admiring its depthful research tree and enjoying the little touches like the map changing as the seasons change. But I haven't felt especially motivated to carry on playing it. Waiting for research before you can meet market demands is dull, but there is an element of satisfaction to be gained from setting up your perfect mix of gatherers, farms and factories to churn out products and see the money come rolling in. This is a tough one to recommend though. I like this type of game, but I don't want to carry on playing this particular game. It just hasn't grabbed me. If you're a big fan of this genre, it's probably worth checking out when it's free, but I don't know if it would be if it's not free. Okay, that's all from me on this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.